So we've all heard of Halo, right? The highly successful FPS series that started all the way back in 2001? Yeah, those are some fun games, aren't they? Okay, maybe not that one. But Halo was an Xbox thing. So what did Sony have? Killzone and Resistance. But back in 2008, Killzone was just another mildly interesting PS2 game, and Halo 3 was almost a year old. What Sony was looking for was a Halo killer, an answer to this rising problem, and boy did they get one. It wasn't the right answer, but they got one. Oh yeah, today we're talking about Haze. Haze is a PS3 game developed by Free Radical and published by Ubisoft. You might have heard of Free Radical. They were a small British team that made a little series called Time Splitters. At what point do I admit to never having played those? I really should get on that. You definitely know who Ubisoft is. Just try to forget they had anything to do with this, or exist. Don't look at it, just look away. So there's a pedigree here, a history of making well-received first-person shooters. So we're in good hands. Then how the hell did we get this? I'm not gonna bullshit you here. This game is awful. I could sit here and try to drag this out in some effort to lead you along, but come on. Are you seeing this? The footage by itself should give you an idea of how fucked this is. But I suppose I should try to talk about this game's story? Don't get me wrong, it has one. It's just really hard to give a shit about it. You play as Sergeant Shane Carpenter, a man who was born in the nightmare year of 2033. So we haven't got long to prevent this from happening. Hop to it, people, we're gonna terminate this shit. He works for the Super PMC Mantell, who have been deployed to South America to liberate it from a group of rebels called the Promise Hand. No, not the Promised Hand. I guess they couldn't afford the D. They aren't faring too well against Mantell, mostly because Mantell have been pumping their troops with a super serum called Nectar, effectively making them almost unstoppable, boosting their speed and strength while blocking out the horrors of war. In the story, that sounds like an interesting concept. Imagine a group of remorseless killing machines dropping in and just gunning down everything. It sounds like a nightmare, but in game, it turns all the Mantell gunfights into a paintball match, filled with brainless AI, running around like headless chickens. As macabre as it sounds, having blood spray off an enemy when you shoot them is satisfying. It's a confirmed hit. You've done the job right. When there's no reaction, it just feels so limp and wrong. Like you've wandered into the world's most hardcore Nerf tournament. Even the bodies disappear, which, again, is supposed to cover up the horrors of war. But they disappear so slowly, you'd have to be beyond an idiot to not guess they're dead. I mean, this isn't a Jedi thing. These soldiers weren't kidnapped and trained at birth. These are young men who decide they want to go shoot stuff. I'm pretty sure they know the big bank sticks make enemies do the perma-sleep. Then again,
don't be one of them. Don't be an ape.
I feel like maybe these guys aren't the brightest. These are supposed to be your allies, but it takes all of 2 seconds to realise they're actually the bad guys. Hell, their names are even in red, just in case you couldn't figure it out. I'm pretty sure they wanted it to be a big twist, but with dialogue like this.
So when you fought that bully kid for that girl you liked at high school, or whatever your story, you weren't doing it for some higher purpose. You were doing it because some chemicals were fizzing around your skull. That's it. You're an ape. A monkey.
They sound like psychopaths, and not even the fun kind like me. They're the poorly written, dragged out of a Steven Seagal movie kind. The kind you just know are gonna die a horrible death midway through. Usually at the hands of a stunt double, because Steven is, well,
he's fat!
It's about at this point you realise this game is trying to have a message. I say trying because it's doing it so heavy-handedly it circles right round the point and smashes itself in the face. It can't seem to decide if it wants to decry war as a whole or just take a shot at Call of Duty instead. So it just kind of flops on its face and screams till you pay attention. Look at the horrible things you're doing, it screams at you, halting your only means of regaining health as you actually try to play the fucking game. Yeah, randomly, to really push the horrors of war on you, your Nectar administer will just stop working, leaving you in this black and white mode where you can no longer regain health and the already hard to see enemies are even harder to see. Why would you force this on the player during a normal gunfight? Do it in a cutscene. You know, like you did earlier. Doing it during gameplay makes the already annoying Mantel gunfights even more annoying, because now you're paper thin and can't heal. It's even worse when you overdose, which rarely happened because I'm pretty sure the AI forgot it had nectar grenades, because you lose almost all control over your character and you can't tell friend from foe. Oh, and now everyone is shooting at you. These mechanics would work if they were used to bring a super soldier down to the rebels level, but you're not a super soldier. Half the time you feel weaker than the AI. And nectar wears off so fast, any benefits it has are gone by the end of one enemy. The sad thing about it is, the guns themselves don't actually sound that bad. They're nice and loud and at least sound like they hurt. They're pretty much all the same gun with a different colour, but it's something, I guess. Oh, and don't use the flamethrower, it's worthless. Like the auto-aim, which I swear to God wasn't actually on. The game can tell me it is all it wants, but when I can barely hit something in a hair's breadth of my own face, it's either lying to me or something isn't working. This wouldn't be an issue on the PC, but I'm stuck here with a controller with its rather imprecise analog sticks, causing me to flail around like I'm blind. But solid, you scream from inside my mind. If the on-foot combat is power the vehicles. It is a Halo knockoff after all. Oh. Oh. Oh no.
To Mantel Nav. Please follow the road in a spiral.
I want to die.
Just nudge the vehicle up to a mine and hope you're out of range. Wait, what? That one's inside the fucking mountain! You assholes! You may have noticed I haven't talked a lot about the story. That's because it isn't interesting enough to remember. Even watching the footage back, I had a hard time remembering any of it. It's like my brain wanted to reject everything to do with this. A big reason for that, I think, is because every character is just so hollow. Your Mantel teammates are just psychopaths and nothing else. The rebels are personalityless clones who shout the same shit over and over again. And Shane has all the wit and intelligence of a cardboard box forgotten in someone's attic. And the levels certainly aren't pulling me into this story. So with nothing interesting here, how the hell can you even care? About the coolest thing you hear about in this game is the rebel leader who wears the skin of his enemies.
You like it? 100% cotton.
Ah, god damn it, I thought you'd be cool. After Duval and your other squaddies decide to try and chop off the leader's hands, shortly after taking one of his fingers, Shane finally decides he doesn't want to be a part of Umbrella's lackluster rival, and her copter crash in a short swamp walk later, seriously, a fucking jump scare? He's saved by a rebel, and after the quickest recovery of all time, he finally switches sides. This is where the game says Shane is finally working for himself. Except now he's just taking this guy's orders. So we haven't even got all the goop out of our system yet, and we're already being lied to. Joy.
Oh, you're a fucking joke, man!
So the armor's gone. You know, the only somewhat cool part anyone remembers about this game. Now we're just running around in boring old camo with a load of people who won't shut up. We also no longer have nectar, which you think would make us even weaker. But I swear, you can take more bullets now than you could with the bloody armor and juice. And if that wasn't enough, to replace nectar injectors, you can now play dead, which will make the enemy magically forget you were ever there, letting you regain health and get in a quick nap. This does raise the question of, if you can still breathe and just need to lay down to fall these brain drugs, why doesn't everyone just crawl? Would they just see floating guns? This mechanic breaks the game entirely, because unless there's a turret nearby, no one will shoot you. And your defense is so cranked up that you can take 2 turrets to the dick for a good minute before actually dying. So instead of dying, just fall asleep for a little bit. It makes the game trivial, especially compared to the Mantel section, where you can run out of nectar. Can't run out of naps. Now what did run out was my patience, especially when I got thrown into another, oh god no. You know what? Let's talk about things that I did like. I like the fact you can fight bots, meaning that while the multiplayer is deader than my sex life, you can at least still experience it in some form. The AI is still thicker than 2 short planks, but it's there. I kinda like the gun sounds. While they feel weak, they don't sound bad. I enjoy the idea of stuff like nectar grenades and nectar knives, even if the grenades have a blast radius shorter than my patience. And I like the visual changes you experience coming off nectar Nectar, the world is slightly darker and grubbier. Blood sprays off your enemies. And the best part, seeing your former comrades again. They turn from full-faced, bright-eyed super soldiers to these ashen-faced husks screaming mostly nonsense at you. I like the idea, showing the real downsides of Nectar addiction, showing that the drug doesn't just cover the horrors of war, but also horrors of its own making. Good luck seeing that though, because this game has the resolution of a broken PS2. This came out a year after Halo 3. And renders at a pitiful 576p. Oh, the PS3 does its best to drag it to 720p, but it just makes it look like this blurry mess. It's like you're playing this game through a dream, or a head injury, which is something you'd probably need to want to buy this game nowadays. I only paid 25p for this, by the way. A bag of crisps costs more than that. Jesus. The resolution is one of the big reasons the rebel enemies are so hard to see in the first half. It all looks like one big brown and grey mess that sometimes shoots at you. Now, I don't usually care about graphics. I love Deus Ex, and that game looks like everything's made of cardboard. But the minute it actually makes it difficult to play the game, yeah, that's kind of when I have to bring it up. Even without that, the textures are blurry as hell. And even with all the graphics cranked down this low, the game still can't retain a stable frame rate, repeatedly dropping below its 30 FPS cap, if it can even make it that high at all. I really do not know how you could fuck this up this badly. Halo 3 honestly didn't need that much remastering, and a year after Haze, Killzone 2 came out, and that game still looks pretty damn good today. It's just insane how bad this looks, especially for something that's supposed to be
graphically impressive.
Wait, what? Anyway, you find the guy from earlier in the game who got kicked off the copter for not taking his meds. He tells you Nectar is bad. Really? I couldn't have guessed. And is shot. You escape, defend the empty village you call a base, escort a missile to get ready for an attack on the Mantell land carrier, and go to an observatory to turn off the enemy's Nectar injection system. Turns out that's really easy. Just gotta break 2 circuit breakers and fist bump some monitors before bailing.
I'm frightened.
My friend, that feeling, fear, it is just chemicals in your brain. It is an animal instinct. Don't listen to it, and you will find courage.
Oh no, they're the same.
Oh no! Anyway,
It's finally time to take the fight to Mantell, and it's terrible. You ride on the back of a pickup truck, shooting at turrets and the cables keeping the cargo bay doors closed. But instead of it being one long, tension-filled assault on the enemy base, it keeps cutting to black and dropping you into the next section, completely dragging you out of any investment you somehow might have, and it doesn't get much better in the carrier. Without Nectar, the Mantell troops are supposed to be in these horrible withdrawal states, but yet, here they are, fighting the same as ever. It would make sense if it was just special forces, because apparently they have their own separate source of Nectar, but I don't think Cracky over here should be able to speak correctly, let alone fire a gun. After hacking into the Mantell systems, we need to get to the bridge and stop this carrier. I wonder who's driving.
Where do you think you're taking this thing?
Oh, good. It's you.
Are you prepared for the kind of death you've earned, little man?
Yep, that was the final boss. Oh, I wasted so much time on this game. You want to know why I skipped around so much? Because this is so draining. So be glad I cut out all the useless shit. You think you missed anything? Go play it yourself. Then come back and tell me I was right, and apologise.
Destroying that land carrier was the safest thing to do. Shame we couldn't use it ourselves.
True, but that machine wasn't the best resource Mantell had at their disposal.
What do you mean?
Positivity, optimism, they're powerful tools in making a country a better, happier place. Don't you think that if the drug can put my people into that frame of mind, it is not such a bad thing? Here it was just mismanaged. I would combine it with free will.
What?
You worry too much, my friend. A sword in the wrong hands is always dangerous. Mantell were the wrong hands, that's all. They were just animals.
Oh no, what a twist. Who cares? Let me make this clear. I never go into any game wanting to hate it. When I find some forgotten game like this, I go in hoping it's good. I love a bit of jank. I don't mind the game being a bit rough around the edges, but this game, it's so rough it gives you friction burns. Terrible writing with a message that apparently got lost in the mail. AI that can tie its shoes, let alone shoot straight, and graphics that make you wonder if you've gotten a concussion recently. The gunplay is at least okay, and some of the visuals after you're off Nectar are interesting, but so much of this just feels empty, like it was rushed. You know where I'm going with this, don't you? See, Free Radical was working on this whole new AI system where the AI would really push you. Yeah, that didn't work out. Not only did it take too long to fully program, but it also reportedly couldn't run properly on systems at the time. So after all the work that went into it, it had to be scrapped. Well, okay, that's fine. Just ask for more time to polish. Which they did, and they got. Only for Ubisoft to demand even more features, instead of letting the team fix up the problems present. They kept demanding more, and in the end, we ended up with this. This killed Free Radical, and that's sad. And if you want to blame someone, that seems to lie with Ubisoft. Do I recommend playing this? No. It's not good or funny bad. It's just kind of sad, really. But it has made me want to check out more PS3 exclusive shooters. I've never played Resistance, so you never know. That might be the next one. Until then, I'm going to go find out who that graphically impressive guy was. Like and subscribe.